Yeah.
So we've had some specific questions come in for a few of you. So there's one for Millie. As a food tech student, how do you get all those connections you need for your startup/business?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think because I did the food tech degree for the 4 years, during that degree, I made lots of internal connections. And I think there, of course I did the degree, but you also have to be active in other parts of your life as well. And that meant joining some of the clubs, going to some of the networking events, which I was part of NZIFST, which is a New Zealand Institute of Food Science and Technology. And there's been multiple clubs like that. And so through that, you make connections, and believe it or not, people want to help you. And that's something I've learned, especially if you're someone that wants to solve problems, bring change to the world, people want to help you. It's very rare that someone, is like, no, sorry, I don't have time for you. So within uni, I've had a lot of support from my lecturers. Out of uni, I went to places like Startup Weekend. So that was my first probably event where I got exposure to the startup world in New Zealand. And there's actually a bit of an ecosystem, which was quite surprising to me, because obviously it's not very in your face. And then from there, I went to Startup Wellington because I loved it so much. And that was even bigger startup world. And through that, you just meet people, and people in the startup world are very friendly, a bit quirky, and so am I, so it was good. And you network, and from one person you meet another, then another, then another. Another thing is just being able to just go on LinkedIn and message people. That's been a big one. If I see someone who even is in the same field as me, I'll just send them a message like, hi, I'm Millie, I'm doing this. Awesome, you're doing this, is something similar in the space. Would love to connect. And sometimes it turns into a coffee, and then you're making friends in the industry, and that leads to lots of connections. For example, as I mentioned before, Margie, she's an ex-Massey University food tech student as well, done Suchi. I sent her a message, and then I needed some help with some of my startup stuff. She was so good on the phone, had a chat, sent me some of the things I needed, problem sorted. And now we'll regularly chat, and if I need anything, I can hit her up same ways. So yeah, you just network and make connections. Yeah.
Excellent. And then we've got one for you, Cassandra. So there's someone that's a food technology student, and they're really interested in how you transition from food tech to more civil. Were there any challenges there?
Oh, so that's a really interesting question. Yeah, that's definitely some challenges involved in this transition. But I believe all engineers are fundamentally the same. So there's difficulties, but I believe you can learn anything. And lots of my colleagues who has a civil engineering background, they have mentioned that they only have transferred probably 20% of what they have studied into their job. So I would say probably more skills. It will be like more time you learn the skills in the jobs rather than in uni, and it's more important to do practical work. Although you need the theoretical knowledge, but it's more important to do the practical work, and you never stop learning. And for sure, even if I had a civil engineering degree, I would say it will be difficult as well for me to just dive into the job. I still need a bit of a transition period, but I believe on engineering are fundamentally the same, and you can learn anything. It's much easier for you to transfer different skill sets in engineering.
Yes, I think that concept of lifelong learning is really important, because we simply can't teach you everything you need to know when you're at university. And it's also important to realize that in 20 years' time, you'll be working on things we haven't even imagined yet. So you have to keep learning and developing, and it's really about learning how you learn. And once you know an effective way for you to learn, if you put your mind to it, you can learn anything. And it's also developing those skills. So how to communicate with people, working with teams is a big one. So we very rarely work by ourselves, we work with other people. And so all of those sorts of skills are transferable. We have some of our graduates who are now really successful real estate agents, or they're in the finance industry, or all sorts of things. So never feel as if you're locked into doing one thing forever, because certainly you can do a whole lot of diverse things. Just choosing what to study, I know it can be really difficult to make these decisions when you're in high school. Don't feel like you're going to be in that space forever. You can change. Got a question for you, maybe, Kate. There's someone who's interested in studying a medical degree, but they realise that there's a lot of study involved. Any tips for maintaining a balanced life while at university?
Yeah, the fact is that you have to be actually quite conscious about keeping yourself healthy, especially if you're moving out of home to go to uni, which you might be if you're considering mid. Because what I discovered was that I moved out of a really supportive home environment into one where I was basically responsible for myself. And that just resulted in me being like, okay, well, I'm going to buy into this culture which says that you should be like working all the time, or you should be like socializing hard all the time. And I didn't make time for myself, and I didn't make time for like the things that kept me healthy. And interestingly enough, when I started to accept that I can't actually study for like 8 hours a day and then go out and then do it again the next day, when I accepted that like actually it's more realistic to do like 2 hours or something like that, and to make time to go to the gym and to sleep, well, 8 hours might be a bit ambitious if you're doing a really demanding degree, but you can try for 6, and like just making time for that sort of thing really helps. So if you're going to something like mid, there might be some guilt that you experience, because I certainly experienced just in engineering, which was I felt guilty if I wasn't like doing something active with my time. If I wasn't studying, I felt super bad, super guilty. But you don't have to. You can just be like, all right, well, I'm going to go to the gym for an hour, and then I'm going to study during this time period. And again, like how you study is a huge like game changer, because yeah, when I started out, I was like, all right, how's everyone else doing this? Oh, we're all doing it like this. Okay, I'm gonna try, learn from the textbook, and I'm gonna try this and that. And it didn't work for me. And once I figured out that having a more balanced life, and not feeling terrible about not just grinding away every day, actually improved my grades, and certainly, improved my general health. So yeah.
Thanks so much. I'm just wondering, Kirsty, do you have any strategies for balancing work versus your sort of private life? Because I imagine, even when you're working in industry, a job can take over your life pretty easily.
Yeah, and I guess I've got a different perspective, being at sort of the middle of my life rather than the beginning. I've been married successfully for 30 years now, and have 2 beautiful 20-year-old children in their 20s. So it has been a very busy life, and being able to balance all of those things together it's really tough, and it can be. You've just got to keep that perspective. And actually, my boss said to me yesterday, we're not rescuing babies from burning buildings. You're allowed to, have some time off and just de-stress and just not think about it. And actually, when you take time to do that and do something for yourself, often the solution pops into your head, or the thing that you've been worrying about. You give your body a little bit of a time to work through it, and that little light bulb moment happens, and it actually happens more often than not. So what I do, I learn, I play music, and I'm still learning even now, as an older person, and it's really nice to be able to have my brain focus on something that's completely different from what I do during the week. And I go to my lesson, and I let my inner rock goddess come out, and I just have a smile on my face for the rest of the day. And you really would be amazed at just doing something completely different that you just really love doing, whether it's, singing in the shower at the top of your lungs, or exercising, running, or dancing, just to bring some balance to it. And yeah, I think Kate put it really well. You've got to take time to be with the people that you love, and to take that connection and take those family moments. As a family, we have always eaten dinner together at the table, right from infants all the way through to even now, even though I don't see my children a huge amount anymore. But having those routines and being able to really take the time to do something that you enjoy.